turns out the rivalry didn't hide the fact that the Duke basketball team had a pretty big basketball advantage over UNC. Right, on Friday we said it. I hoped that the rivalry would induce enough chaos that it would be a close game, because everywhere you looked, basketball-wise, matchup-wise, it said Duke was going to win by a bunch. Well, the rivalry didn't equalize it the way we were hoping, because Duke won by a bunch. They won by 17, and it felt like more. And you know how you know it's bad? I listened to Tyler Hansborough on a podcast, Field of 68. Tyler Hansborough, I mean, I just scribbled down notes of compliments that he gave to Duke. He said you have to give Jon Scheyer a ton of credit. He said not only was Duke more talented, but they played way harder. He called Cooper Flagg generational. It's coming from Tyler Hansborough, who is as synonymous with UNC basketball as anybody. Those are compliments for Duke. That should tell you what kind of game it was. And by the way, Hansborough is also a high-level basketball mind, so he's not going to pull the wool over our eyes. Like, he's going to call it as he sees it, and that's what he saw. Duke is one of the biggest teams in the country. UNC tried to go small, started 4 guards for a large portion of the day, had 3 guys 6'3" or under out there on the floor together. Duke doesn't have anyone in their rotation below 6'5", and it looked like it. Duke ate it up. And Duke's young guys looked like they were comfortable in the chaos. Jon Scheyer, the head coach, talking about the young players showing their maturity their first time in the rivalry.
They sure met it. I mean, you always worry just when you see different moments or different environments, how is your team going to respond? We've really been focused this season on just what you can control at the end of the day. And so, we focus on our defense. We feel if our defense is there, our offense is going to come. I thought Sion makes so many plays, man. He makes so many plays and makes it easier for everybody on the court. Our freshmen didn't look like freshmen. And they didn't even know you burn benches, actually. So our whole team, they didn't even know that happens. And so I love the fact they were just focused on the task at hand of coming ready, not just to play, but to compete. They sure met it. I mean,
how funny is that? They didn't even know. So, well, what's that smoke I smell? Hilarious move.
Oh, I was outside Cameron after the game, and it was like, oh, there's some ash drifting over where I am.
Should we let somebody know? Somebody's car? Like, what's going on here? Oh, you're just the players that won the game. Here's the deal. What do you do? Like, you're maybe the biggest team in the country, right? And Chris Lee, who covers sports for WRAL, put out a really cool like green screen video all about the height of Duke's team. And he pointed out Duke's right now, their average height is like 2 inches higher than the NBA's average height. This is a massive team and skilled, but massive in height. What do you do when you are a recklessly gigantic college basketball team and you face a team who rolls out like 6'1", 6'1", 6'3", like that out to you? And the biggest guy in their starting lineup, 6'8", Van Allen Lubin. They didn't even start one of their 6'10 plus centers. They start an undersized post at the 5. What do? Well, you think this should be our most efficient game that we can remember, right? They simply can't get a hand in our face the way other teams can. If we want to bully ball and go down low and get high percentage shots, we should. How does that materialize? Well, Duke shot 53% from the field, 50% from 3. 50% from 3. That tracks. At times, UNC was helpless defensively. I'm remixing a joke that Adam Gold said earlier this year, okay? Adam Gold, who you just heard, he hosts the show right before this one on 99.9 The Fan, the Adam Gold Show. When Martin Necas was on his absolute heater earlier this year for the Canes, Adam would make the joke, if you get a pass from Martin Necas, shoot. Right? It doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you have the angle, doesn't matter if you're covered, shoot. Because Martin Necas was on such a point-producing heater that if there was an opportunity for him to get an assist, the hockey gods were going to make sure it came through. So if you receive an offering from Necas, shoot. I'm going to just remix it a little bit. If the opposing team double teams Cooper Flagg and he passes out of the double team to you, Catch and shoot. Don't look around. Where's the closeout defender? Who's the rotation? You're going to catch it. You're going to be open. Catch in rhythm. Rise. Knock it down. Proctor did it. Knueppel did it. We've seen Gillis do it pretty well. The guys down low have done it well. Catch. Launch. Cooper Flagg, real deal. And actually, right, the Duke UNC game is the ultimate, like, casual fans are introduced to these teams game. I've lived all over the country. People from all over, this is their first time really watching Duke. I got a lot of Cooper Flagg texts. I got a lot from not not college basketball fans, but basketball fans, mostly NBA fans. I got a couple like, oh, so this is like a tank for the lottery year. Cooper's that legit, and I had to explain to them, yes, he is. I just read, actually, I'm in the process of reading the myth-making article for Saquon Barkley on The Athletic.
Okay.
Where you go back and you talk to college coaches, and they have the story of, right, he got, our first practice, he got a handoff up the middle, and he jump cut to the outside and ran 70 yards for a touchdown. And then when he came back, he said, "Coach, should I have pressed that to the hole more?" And that's when I knew Saquon Barkley was different. We are living that out for Cooper Flagg. There's like a story today from that game, right? Cooper's going to go be the number 1 pick, and he's going to be an all-star at some point, and The Athletic is going to write that article about Cooper Flagg, and Jon Scheyer is going to be saying, he didn't even know the benches were going to be burned after the game because he was so locked in on the game. I don't know why I gave Jon Scheyer that voice, the doop-a-doo, but that's it'll be in writing. You won't hear it, so good on you, John. Those stories are happening right now for Cooper. And on the opposite side, UNC, this is near bottom for a school like UNC. I don't want to say it can't get worse because they still have like 9-10 games left. But if you're the University of North Carolina being blown out like that by Duke to where it was in hand and you had to fly back with a vengeance in the second half to lose by 17. That's going to sting in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, you need a couple of late buckets just to get it under 20.
That's going to sting. And I mean, it stings just saying it out loud. And it didn't feel flukish. I want that to be clear. Mm-hmm. There are games that turn into blowouts because a team is just on fire, right? They're hitting fadeaway bank-in threes without calling it. It's just one of those days. No, like Duke, especially on defense, when they switched everything, UNC there was nothing they could do. When Common Malawash, 7'2", gets switched on to 6'1", reigning ACC Player of the Year perimeter threat RJ Davis, stays in front of him, gets a hand in the face to contest, and plays great defense, 25 feet from the bucket. What are you going to do with that?
Pray.
That's your matchup. That's what you hope for.
It's interesting because Hubert Davis talked last week after the loss to Pitt about how Pitt switched everything, both on-ball and off-ball 1 through 5. Just switched everything. And Duke did the exact same thing. Like, there clearly is a blueprint on how to slow down UNC.
Yep.
It's that. And it's ironic that it's a former Duke guy and Coach Capel at Pitt is the one that laid the groundwork, and Duke just followed it. They really did.
I would say, like, do you think Scheyer pulled the brotherhood card and, like, called up Capel? But Duke is smart enough to watch film of that game and recognize they don't need the wink hat tip. This is what we did. They can see and if your perimeter players, and I thought Ian Jackson was this guy, but even he struggled. If your perimeter players aren't prepared to beat posts when they come all the way out from the bucket, especially because Duke, if Common Malawash is already out there, rim protector could be Cooper Flagg, could be a bunch of other guys. It's tough. You're not going to find a ton of success. Your offense didn't take care of the ball, didn't find high percentage shots, didn't challenge Duke as far as foul trouble, making it more physical, and your offense wasn't able to beat mismatches so much that Duke was almost welcoming them. They were switching everybody. They had 3 players on their team taller than everyone else you had on the floor. That's as stark a difference I've seen in that rivalry. We've seen blowouts. That's as stark a difference, eye test-wise, I've seen in the rivalry. And that's a tough one for Hubert Davis to answer for.
Hey, you mentioned Cooper Flagg. Dude set the tone. He either scored or assisted on the first 15 points for Duke. And then Kon Knueppel in the second half, in the first 3.5 minutes, scores 9 points.
Knueppel had a good day, and he's been streaky this year. So, when that happens, when Cooper Flagg starts knocking down threes, it was a good day for Duke, and that makes it more difficult for UNC. But it felt like if it was a bad day for Duke, it would have been a 10-point win rather than a 25 seeming win.